Hello and yes, welcome back to part 2 of me ranking every movie I saw throughout the year of 2022. So just to recap, last time we done 143 all the way down to 51. Today we're going to go from 50 to my number 1. Now some of you might have seen my top 10 video because I did do that as well. So really, it's only going to be 50 down to number 11 here that you haven't already seen. Unless you didn't watch that video and you've been waiting for this one, in which case, hey, we're going to go over them all. Now, this is UK releases. So if there's a film here that can maybe come out in America or shown at a festival in 2021, well, they were UK releases here, all of these. So anyway, let's get started. I'm going to just scooch on over so the lovely movie posters can pop up right here. Let me tilt that a bit. There we go. That's better. So coming in 50th place is going to be Kimmy. That's right. This film here sort of come out of nowhere. It came out right after the Batman, of course, because they both star I can't think of her name. Does it say on my Batman Blu-ray? No, it doesn't. Oh my goodness, what's her name? Oh, anyway, it's got the actress who plays Catwoman in. So right at the start of the year, she had the Batman, which we'll get to, and this was pretty good. It was a very interesting movie. Again, it felt very Black Mirror-y, but what I liked about it is it was a good runtime, and it had a pretty satisfying ending. So yeah, Kimmy gets the 50th spot. 49th is going to Blonde. I know some people hate this movie, and look, you know, I know it is very disrespectful to the memory of Marilyn Monroe, but the thing with this movie is it's based off a book, so surely this is the book's fault. But then again, you can also argue surely they should have just made an actual biopic instead of making a film on the book. So I get the complaints with it, but in terms of filmmaking, there was some really good aspects about it which I really enjoyed. I thought some of the styles that it went for was great, and the editing choices. I also thought Ana de Armas was really good in this role. Yeah, it's a very controversial one. I do get the complaints, but hey, look, at the end of the day, I thought it was a well-made movie, and I didn't hate it. I didn't even dislike it, but I get the complaints. So yeah, Blonde, I'm going to try and leave that one there and hope it doesn't bring me too many negative comments. Then, in 48th, we have Rosalie. I remember seeing trailers for this and pictures for it up on Disney+. Was it on Disney+? Or was it Prime? I can't remember. But when it was coming up for release, and I did think to myself, wow, this looks terrible. And I kind of loved it because of how self-aware it was. And I genuinely burst out loud laughing a few times because it pokes so much fun at the story of Romeo and Juliet. There's a bit near the end where Juliet is explaining her plan of how she's going to fake her own death and blah, 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 blah. And Rosaline's just like, that is like the worst plan I've ever heard. And it's like, yes, I think everyone would agree with you. So I quite enjoyed that aspect of the movie. And as I say, it was just very self-aware and it was really good, switch your brain off fun. So yeah, I had a good time with this movie. Then, in 47th place, we have Benedetta. This was a 2022 release here in the UK on the Movie label. It's right behind me over here, actually. About a bunch of nuns who get up to some weird stuff. There's some very uncomfortable scenes in this movie, like with one of them, she thinks she's seen God, and it very much plays in the audience's head as well as hers. Like, has she? Is she telling the truth? Oh, and there's a lot of really interesting things around this movie like that, where you don't know whether to believe this character and the scenario she's in. But at the end of the day, it's quite an entertaining movie. It definitely drags a bit, but there's a lot of good aspects about this film, and yeah, I had a decent time with this one. Then in 46th, we have Not Okay. This film here took me a while to appreciate, but I think the more it went on, the more I appreciated it. The thing with this movie is you're not meant to like the main character. At first, you feel a bit bad for her, and then what she does is kind of, you know, horrifyingly horrible. And the more the film goes on, you do wonder, like, am I supposed to root for her? Am I supposed to want her to succeed? And it's like, as soon as you come to terms with, no, you're not, and you know what she gets at the end is fully deserved, you do tend to appreciate this film more. I think it's one that I appreciated more after the film itself had ended. But I did have a good time with this one, and I thought the lead actress put in a really good performance. Coming in 45th place is going to be Bullet Train, starring Mr. Brad Pitt, of course. I'm so happy to see Brad Pitt doing these sorts of movies. He's had a lot of fun this year with this and Lost City. And this one was really good. I really liked how wacky and weird it was. I think my issues with this one is I hated that Thomas the Tank Engine joke that went on like 50 times. And they definitely had one too many endings to the movie. But I thought it had a very solid cast. I thought Aaron Taylor-Johnson gave one of the best performances he's given. And as I say, the surrounding cast with this movie helps carry it for sure. But Brad Pitt does absolutely steal the show. It's absolutely fantastic stuff. So yeah, Bullet Train. Coming in 44th place is going to be Men, the A24 movie. This would have been a lot higher because I was so into this movie. I was having a great time with it. The themes running throughout this movie. And then on top of that, the actual filmmaking itself of having, you know, some really, really great stuff with the cinematography and the score and the acting. But then the ending just went too far for me. It went a bit too silly, and it really pulled me out of the movie, and it really ruined it a bit for me, to be honest. I mean, I put it this high because for, you know, the first hour and a half of the movie, I was having a really good time with it, and it just really ruined itself at the end there. But, you know, it doesn't deserve to be super low, so periodism, 44th. 43rd is going to 3,000 Years of Longing. That's right, this is the new film from the guy who makes Happy Feet films and Mad Max movies. But no, again, this is another one where the trailers were showing up in cinema, and I was really, really excited to see it. I went to see it, and I actually had a blast with it. You know, it reminded me a lot of something like The French Dispatch, which we got last year, where there's a core to this movie, which you see scattered throughout the film. And then there is this, these stories that he's telling, and some are better than others. But there's a lot of great stuff with this one through the actual effects and the cinematography again, and the score's pretty good. Also, Idris Elba's having a lot of fun in this role. You can tell, and Tilda Swinton's also excellent in this movie. So yeah. Coming in 42nd place is going to be Spirited, a Christmas movie I thought would be okay, but I ended up enjoying it a lot more than I thought. Maybe a tad too long, but I really liked the message that this one sent, and it actually had some balls to it, I thought, throughout the movie. And it's a Christmas film, so I always give those films a little bit of, I don't know, leeway, because they're very innocent. They're meant for families around the holidays, and, you know, it's a musical. And while not every song was great, there were a couple that really banged, especially one, Do a Little Good, I think it was called, near the end. Really good song. Then in 41, we have Werewolf by Night, the first ever MCU special presentation. And yeah, this was so good. This really caught me off guard. I mean, I can't believe it. They literally announced it like a month before it actually dropped. But, you know, there's so many great aspects about this one. It really captures that Universal Monsters horror feeling, which was great. I also love the black and white choice with the hint of red throughout some of the colour schemes. All the actors done a great job. I thought that there wasn't an inch of bad CGI or effects. Like the actual using prosthetics and stuff for Man-Thing as well looked great. Just fantastic stuff. But the guy who directed this, who does a lot of scores, sorry. This is his directorial debut, and I thought he'd done an excellent job. So, yeah. Then, 40th, we have Turning Red. At the start of this year, I would have said Lightyear will be a million times better. I don't know how this happened. I have some issues with this movie, but at the end of the day, I had so much fun with this. Visually, I thought it was brilliant. Like, the fur on, like, the panda and stuff looked incredible. I thought a lot of the characters were really relatable for younger people. Younger than me, like, probably even younger than my sister's age now. But, you know, you see a lot of them about, like, kids who do this sort of stuff. They're constantly on TikTok, Instagram, and, you know, they're on their phones all the time. And I think that younger people are going to relate to this one a lot more. But I think it's good that that generation are now starting to get their films that they can relate to. And it carries some really nice messages throughout it. And all of the family stuff is great in this one. The kaiju stuff at the end, I'm not sure I was expecting that. Still not sure how I feel about it. But it was good fun still. In 39th, we have a film which people are going to be shocked is this high. But I went to see it at the cinema and I had a really good time with it. I'm a sucker for a murder mystery film. and that is Where the Crawdads Sing. Yeah, this was not really on my radar to see. Me and my friend just went to see it on a whim because we were bored one evening. I don't even think I'd seen a trailer for it. But I really got into this film, and I just really connected with the story. The lead character, I thought she was great. And by the end of it, I was shocked with how this film turned out. Like the conclusion of the movie itself and how much I surprisingly enjoyed it. 38th is going to Black Panther Wakanda Forever. This is the last Marvel film, MCU film. Are there any other Marvel films on this list, is there? No, I don't think there is. This is the last MCU movie I have to talk about. My favourite one. Although, as I say, you know, Werewolf by Night, very close second. Really enjoyed that as well. But, yeah, you know, some people have been ragging on this movie, and of course they would. Why wouldn't they? It's fun to hate on Marvel nowadays. But I thought this film opened and closed really well. There was a lot of great stuff around the middle, and I thought that how they paid their respect to Chadwick was really good. I thought Namor was a decent villain. I think the issue I have with this movie is the Ironheart stuff. I thought that the actress weren't doing the best job with this script she was given because it wasn't a great script. I'm hoping she'll be better in Ironheart. And the CGI around her character was terrible. Saying that, the score for this film was amazing. The costumes were once again great. I thought that the actress who played the mum put in a fantastic performance. So yeah, there's a lot to love with this movie. Then in 37th, I can't believe this film came out in 2022. We've got Scream. I'm saying that because we've had a trailer and we're getting posters for the next Scream film already. It seems way too soon. But yeah, we had Scream. Granted, it was very early on in the year, but we had Scream and it was really, really good. I would say this is probably my favourite Scream film after the original. I loved bringing back the characters, and there was a bit of a surprising, well, quote-unquote surprising death around the middle of the film, which I thought was good. I can't lie, I did guess who was under the mask. Not till near the end, admittedly, but I did get it eventually. But these films are just so much fun. I love watching Ghostface get his shit kicked out of him because he normally does, to be honest. But yeah, I had a good time with this one. In 36, we have Intergalactic. Every now and then Netflix comes out one of these movies which is like, why didn't you promote this more? Because this was really good, Netflix. Again, a very down-to-earth story in showing just a guy going about his life and, you know, couple relationship drama sort of thing. But around it follows a fantastic style of animation, a beautiful colour palette throughout the whole movie, and a script which is pretty good. So Intergalactic was one of those films which really surprised me. I just put it on a whim and ended up having a really good time with it. If you haven't seen it and, you know, you got Netflix, I would say this is one that I would definitely give a watch. 35 is going to Honor Society. This stars the actress who plays Betty Brant and the kid who plays Dustin from Stranger Things. And yeah, wow, this film was come out of nowhere as well. It's another one which I didn't see advertised at all. I put it on a whim, and watching these two characters interact, and you can see the way the story's going. Like, oh, she's just sort of flirting with him, messing about just to try and ruin his grades so she could get into the better school. It was, but then you could see that she was actually starting to like him. It was like, oh, this is a really cute story. And then something happens at the end where your mind just goes, wow, okay, didn't see that coming, but fair enough. That's the way this story's going, I guess. So, yeah, you know, I thought it was a really good movie, though. There's a lot of heart to it. Both of these actors give probably two of the best performances I've seen from both of them. I've only seen him in Stranger Things, but I think he was probably better here than he was in Stranger Things. And, you know, for the actress, maybe after The Nice Guys, this is the best performance I've seen from her. So yeah, really solid movie. If you haven't seen this and you like these kind of movies, like Edge of 17 styled stuff, I'd give it a watch. Coming in 34th place, we have Apollo 10.5. There is a little subtitle there. A space age... Oh, I can't read it. It's too small, too pixelated. Again, another Netflix one. Very, very cool style animation. Voiced by Mr. Jack Black, this one. Now, this one here is very cool, again, because it has this very unique presence to it with its animation style, which I loved. And I really like these kind of films where you just see these kids get lost in their imagination. It's really good fun. This film does feel like a film of two halves. I think I preferred the first half of this movie a lot more. But yeah, when it finished, I do remember thinking that this was a really fun time. And yeah, again, the animation style is what carries this film, I think. But it is also a really good story, and the script around it is pretty damn good as well. Then we have, again, this is going to be a 2021 release if you're in America, but here in the UK, Nightmare Alley was a 2022 release here. Did I say 2022 release? 2021 release in America, 2022 here in the UK. Now, I actually watched the original in preparation for this, and I can say that this is one of those times I prefer the remake. Oh, yeah, I preferred the remake. I thought it was really great. I thought that Bradley Cooper gave an incredible performance, especially in the last half hour as the film really started to wind down. I thought that the sets and the costumes were fantastic. I thought it had a really good score as well. I like the way that the story actually moved on to the next stage. It done that a lot better than the original. You felt like it was time for these characters to move on, whereas the original film would just jump. But I do think one issue I have with this movie is the original's like an hour and 20, maybe hour and 30. This is over 2 hours. I think this one could have been trimmed down a little bit, but it's still a very solid movie. Number 32 is going to Fresh. Yeah, I thought I was watching a rom-commy romantic film between this actress and Sebastian Stan. I thought that this was going to be them two just falling in love, and I think that's maybe part of the reason why I love this film so much, because the direction it went in was, my God, it was surprising. I mean, this film came out early enough in the year where I feel like most people have seen it, but I'm going to try and do it without spoiling it. But I thought that every scene between these two characters was great. Everything that Sebastian Stan's character was doing left my jaw wide open. I couldn't believe what I was watching. And there were some really good scenes in this movie, like the dancing scene and the entire conclusion at the end I thought was really well done. And yeah, I thought it was a very, very entertaining movie, and the horror elements to it had me very creeped out. So yeah. Then we have Avatar, The Way of Water. Here it is, the big blockbuster of the year. I mean, I reviewed this film in detail. I think visually it might be the best film I've ever seen. And the pacing for a film this long is surprisingly really good, even though I think it could have been trimmed down a little bit. I think the issue I have with this movie is, while the heroes are pretty good, I didn't really like any of the villain characters. I didn't think their motivations or stories worked particularly well. I think the script definitely could have been a bit better as well. And the story itself was pretty bog standard. Look, I know with these Avatar films, you go to them because of how visually incredible they were, but after 13 years, you'd think, yeah, okay, he's got the visuals down, but you'd think there'd be a bit of a better or more interesting story and a tighter script. But it's still an excellent movie, so yeah. Then we have Barbarian. This is a film that I wasn't going to bother with, to be honest. I don't know why. I just wasn't. And then it randomly popped up on Disney Plus, and I was like, okay, fine, I'll watch it. Now, I don't want to spoil anything here, but I thought that the guy who played Pennywise was going to be the villain. So halfway through this film, when something else happens, I was shocked. The first half of this movie, I was petrified of him. And in the back half of the film, I was petrified by someone else. And it was a very nervy watch. But this film used everything to its advantages in terms of making you feel very claustrophobic, and the lighting I thought was great. The actress in this done an incredible job, and yeah, it was just messed up, but I kind of loved it. Then in 29th place we have, this one's going to make people laugh, The Sea Beasts. Yeah, that's this high. I had such a good time with this. I love How to Train Your Dragon, and I've seen other people comparing it to this as well. It really is the How to Train Your Dragon on the water. And, you know, you got some Pirates of the Caribbean stuff thrown in there, some really cool water monsters. It's kind of like a mixture of a lot of things I love, which is why I think I enjoyed it so much. The animation style could have been a bit better. It was a bit plain, I think. But man, there was some cool shots in this. There was a shot like when someone's in the water and you see this big monster looking at him and it just fade into the ocean. I was like, oh my god, that's terrifying. But I think, again, this is another film, just like Barbarian, funny enough, which used everything that it had to its disposal really well, to its advantages, and it was just really, really good. It was a lot better than I expected it to be. So yeah, Sea Beasts. Yeah, it is this high. 28th is going to See How They Run, another whodunit murder mystery film with just one of the best casts of the year. The sets and the costumes in this movie were incredible. The actress in it, the Irish one, I'm terrible with names, I'm sorry, I keep saying actor who did this, actor who done that. She was absolutely fantastic in this movie. She had me bursting out laughing so many times. And yeah, you know, I love these kind of movies. Again, I think that you needed more members to this cast, actually, funny enough, just because in the end it was kind of obvious who done it because there wasn't many people left. Number 27 is going to After Sun. This is surprisingly going to be in a lot of people's top 10s, I think. I really like this movie. It's this high. It's a really good film. But I would say it's maybe a little bit overrated, I think. But, you know, still an excellent movie. A24. The themes behind this movie are beautiful. There's a lot of great character work between the two leads. And all around it is just a really well-made film through some beautiful cinematography. Some of the editing choices is just fantastic. I think the score could have been a bit more interesting. It was very plain at times, but there's a lot of great things about this movie for sure. 26th is going to Prey. Yes. I'm so happy that this is this high because I love the original 3 Predator films, and man, Predator 4 in 2018, when I saw that was such a disappointment. I hated it. So to be able to come on here and say the new Predator film is good, or this good, is so, it makes me very happy. I wish I'd put it out in the cinema. But yeah, the Predator looks amazing in this one. The action scenes are fantastic. The story's simple but good. You don't really expect loads of that from a Predator film, to be honest. And the ending is great, and I really hope we get another one that follows on from this one, because this was really excellent. 25 is The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. A Nicolas Cage film is in my top 50. It's been a while. Yeah, I had a feeling I'd like this. I like it because of how self-aware this movie and Nicolas Cage himself is. The fact that they're just poking fun at him. And I really respect him for doing this type of movie. And I hope we see other actors, maybe someone like Adam Sandler, do something like this next. Don't get me wrong, I know Adam Sandler's fantastic with things like Uncut Gems and Punch Drunk Love. But he does a lot of shit as well, like grown-ups films. So maybe something like that would be cool from him. But yeah, I can't lie, Pedro Pascal was the one that had me laughing the most through this one. And I think the first act's a bit choppy, but the second and third act is so well done. And it's just a very wholesome, entertaining movie. Okay, 24th. Again, this was a 2021 release, like literally everywhere else, but here in the UK it was a 2022, and that is Belfast. Which is strange because Kenneth Branagh just keeps proving to me that he's quite an average director, but then he made this, and this was just a beautiful, beautiful film. I really respect the fact that he's done it in black and white, I want to say, for a start, because I know that some people will moan about this, but I think it really adds that extra layer of, you know, this film, the time it was in, and the idea of what's happening at this period of time. I thought the script around it was just absolutely fantastic. One of the best scripts we've had this year and last year, whatever year you want to count it coming out. And there's some fantastic acting throughout the movie as well. Really, really great movie. 23 is going to Elvis. I mean, we all knew this was going to be high for me. I love the Moulin Rouge, and as soon as I heard this director was doing this, and I quite like Elvis, it was a winning combination. There are some issues. I think there's definitely pacing issues in the first act, but it really is just the first act which struggles with this, because you do miss over some things, like the Colonel meeting Elvis. Really surprised that one in there. But I honestly loved how big and bold and bright this film was, because It's coming from the director of Moulin Rouge for a start, and it's Elvis. Elvis was the biggest musician who ever lived, alongside, I don't know, Michael Jackson or the Beatles. You know, it's just incredible. And I thought that the lead actor done a great job. The music was really good. The pacing after that first act was also really solid. And the ending's heartbreaking. So, yeah, Elvis was really good. 22 is going to X, the A24 film. Yeah, so you can see why I was very disappointed with Pearl now. But yeah, X was a fantastic movie. Great horror. Really up my street. Really reminded me of like Friday the 13th. Probably better than those films. Really reminded me of that sort of style. And the way this film escalated once things started going down was great. And the order that characters sort of dropped off in really surprised me as well, which I quite enjoyed. Always good being surprised. And some of the kills were great. So much fun. 21 is going to a film which seems like a Marmite film. Some people hate it. Some people love it. But I'm going with bodies, bodies, bodies here. Yeah. Some people hate this movie because of how ridiculously over the top it is. But I love it. It's a, you know, it's a very Gen Z type film where it's, you know, it is just constant TikTok talk, Twitter. I haven't seen it since it came out in cinema, so I can't remember, but there's some of the things they're coming out with. It might not seem natural to some people for people to talk like this, but I've heard people talk like this when I've been out in London and stuff. I can't remember what some of them say, but it's very funny. And the conclusion of the movie I actually thought was quite brilliant. I had a really awesome time with this movie, I'm not going to lie. I thought it was just so much fun and just really well done in terms of, like, when all the lights go out and they're playing their game, bodies, 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 you feel scared. Like, it's very well shot, I think. So, yeah, bodies, bodies, bodies. 20th is going to Tar, starring Cate Blanchett. She gives maybe the best performance of her career right here. So if you want to see that, you need to check this movie out because this was great. 2 hours of her just going through this emotional moment in her life where she's trying to do something great, but then there's some other stuff going on in her life that's pulling her down, and it is just such an intense story to watch. But I absolutely loved it. The music was great. I thought the cinematography in this one as well was absolutely gorgeous. My issue with the film is I'm not sure how I feel about the ending. I don't mind how it ended, but it felt very sudden, very abrupt, and I'm not sure how I felt about it. But other than that, this film was great. Then, I think this was an Apple Plus movie, Apple TV movie, I think. Cha-Cha Real Smooth. I like the title. Dakota Johnson. I forgot her name in the last video. Big surprise. She's done so well since those 50 Shades films. Like, honestly, you know, Peanut Butter Falcon, a couple years ago now, we got this. Don't get me wrong, there's been some other good ones as well. But this was so good. It's a heartbreaking story to watch in a way because seeing this guy fall in love with her, and you really sort of do root for him, but then you sort of realise it's wrong with the character to almost root for him, and it's a really nice story, very wholesome. There's a lot of really sweet moments in it, and yeah, it's just a very well directed movie. So yeah, Cha-Cha Real Smooth is 19th. 18th is going to Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Yeah, much better than the Disney one. I'd be tempted to say this is my favourite version of Pinocchio I've seen, but I hold a lot of nostalgia for the original Disney one. But this is a lot better than the live-action Disney one we got this year. The stop motion effect on this is just absolutely great. I thought all the voice work was spot on, especially David Bradley as Geppetto. I also thought Ewan McGregor was great as Jiminy Cricket. There was just so many great elements about it. I love how dark and twisted this film was at times. The lighting throughout, just superb. It was just such a good movie. And yeah, I got to say, I really hope this one wins some awards because it was truly fantastic. Then in 17th, we have The Fallout. Jenna Ortega has had one hell of a year with this and X and The Wednesday Show, which was also really good, and Scream, which was really good. She has had a cracking year, and I'd be tempted to say this this is her best thing, I think, she put out this year. I had no idea what this film was about going into it, so the first 10 minutes or first 5 minutes, when you hear those gunshots going off, being a British person, you know, obviously we do not have school shootings here, it is truly terrifying, and it really is a bit of a mind-opener, I think, to those of us who don't live in America, and seeing those implications on not just the families, but everyone involved. It's fascinating to watch how horrible and how messed up this makes people's lives over a period of time, and got to give it props to the actors in this, because they do a solid job. But coming in 16th, just above that, is going to be Living, starring one of my favourite actors ever, Bill Nighy. And wow, this man puts on one of the best performances of the year. Like, truly heartbreaking. It's very sad to watch and very wholesome. There are moments where you really do feel empathy for him, and you do also feel very, I don't know, like, you feel like he's making some mistakes throughout this movie at the start when he's going out just drinking and drinking with strangers, and it's like, oh no, oh, don't do that. You feel very bad for him. Come the end of the movie, though, you realise that the journey that he goes on in this is just such a wholesome one, and so perfect for his character and what he needed compared to what he was at the start of the movie. I thought his relationship with the girl from Sex Education was just really well done, really good. And yeah, it was just very, very sweet at the end. Very bittersweet, I think, is a better way to say it. But I really connected with this movie. Coming in 15th is going to be The Woman King. This was such a really, really great movie, actually. What I loved about this one, I've got to say, mostly, is the costumes and the sets and the score. Just all absolutely just on point. I thought the plot was a bit predictable. Like, there was a bit where someone was going to die, or someone does die, and I thought, oh, that was kind of predictable. But I liked it. It was a good film. I thought it was nice to see, you know, woman empowerment tribe. I thought that was really cool. We don't get many films like that or like this at the minute, so I thought that was really great. And all the actors done such a fantastic job, and they all got absolutely in shape for it, which is crazy. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed this film. I think it deserves everything it's going to get at the Oscars. I'm hoping it really does. It definitely deserves to be going up for, like, costumes and stuff. Come on. Okay, 14th. So we've only got 4 more to talk about here. Yeah, and then top 10, which I'll go quick on because I've already done a video on them. Number 14th is going to Glass Onion: A Knives Out Mystery. I love this. I thought this is one of the best sequels I've seen. I thought this was absolutely fantastic. I had the pleasure of seeing it on the big screen. Seeing Detective Blanc come back was great. Daniel Craig plays the hell out of this role. I thought the new cast was really good. I really liked all their characters. There was a couple bits where I was thrown as to thinking who it could be. But there was a really nice twist in the middle, just like the first Knives Out movie, which I thought was really, really well done. And visually, I thought it was great. So yeah, this was a really fun movie. Coming in 13th is going to be The Worst Person in the World. Wow, this film here as well, just, it's quite a long one, but the journey it takes you on is just so great. By the end of it, you feel very well-rounded with this character, that you understand her completely. And yeah, I thought the film done such a good job at making you connect with this character and understanding her decisions, and seeing her go through life and make some very, very difficult decisions was great. And surrounded by that, some of the shots, the shot where, like, she's walking about and every time sort of frozen, just beautiful, brilliant stuff. So yeah, there's just some of the cinematography in this movie is just gorgeous. Coming in 12th place is going to be a Sean Baker movie. I think that's how you say it, isn't it? I think it's Baker. Red Rocket. Yeah, this was a film that really went under the radar, but, like, I'm becoming a huge fan of this guy. Funny enough, I watched Tangerine for the first time last night. I really enjoyed it. The Florida Project is my favourite film from 2017, and now this is my favourite of his after the Florida Project. I preferred this to Tangerine, but this was such a solid movie. I really love going to these places that he takes us with these kind of poorer, more aggressive type people out there in the world, which I really have I barely have any knowledge of, and it's fascinating how he puts you in their day-to-day life and give you a little inkling of what their life is like. And I do find it fascinating, which is why I've loved all three of his movies. And with this one, I think that it's the relationship drama in this one is kind of interesting, and how he deals with his actual home life with this. I think it's a fascinating story and just really well put to film. There's a lot of great stuff in this film. Then in 11th place, the last film really I have to talk about, because you've heard me talk about my top 10, is The Menu. That's right. This film here was just, it really kind of took me a while to get to grips with what I was watching, because at first I thought, okay, I'm watching a cooking film, but I know there's going to be some horror. It took a while for the horror to kick in, and then you sort of get what's going on, and I loved it. And I loved how over the top the dishes were, how over the top the people in this restaurant were, and how over the top Ralph Fiennes himself was. There was a load of great elements about this. The film wasn't predictable. It didn't go in the direction I wanted it to, and I thought it was very clever, and I loved the conclusion of it. And on top of that, filmmaking-wise, it looks great, and the score's great, and pacing and editing all really well done. So yeah, The Menu, pretty awesome. So, top 10. Here we go. I'm going to go a bit quick, so I've done a whole video on these. Number 10 is going to All Quiet on the Western Front, one of my new favourite war films. What I loved about this movie is seeing that perspective at the start of seeing these guys like they're going on a lad's holiday, and then all of a sudden coming to the realisation what they've gotten involved in, I thought was very interesting. And the conclusion in the movie, seeing what characters are left, is just heartbreaking. Then, in 9th place, we have Banshees of the Inisherin. I can never pronounce this, and I apologise. But I love this movie. This director is becoming another one of my very favourites. He's brought back, after in Burgess, he's brought back Colin Farrell with Brendan Gleeson. Yeah, Brendan. I always get confused. Brendan Donoghue Gleeson. Yeah, Brendan's the dad, isn't it? Seeing these two play off each other once again is fantastic. Colin Farrell giving one of the best performances of the year here in this one. He gives two other great performances this year, which we'll get to in a minute. And yeah, just this very simple story expanded into this 2-hour masterpiece is great. I think this film has probably the best cinematography of the year. It is an absolutely gorgeous looking movie. And it's also got some very shocking moments in it. Number 8 is going to 13 Lives. Once again, Colin Farrell doing a great job. But, you know, I said this is my top 10 video. What I loved about this movie is it reminded me of when I watched Chernobyl, the HBO series, for the first time. I knew Chernobyl happened. I knew that this Thailand disaster happened. But I didn't know any details of them. And watching Chernobyl was like, oh my god, I can't believe all this happened. And it was the same thing with this. Watching this, I was like, oh my god, I can't believe all this happened. And that's what I really connected with this movie. And I've watched it 2 or 3 times now. And I absolutely loved it. I think it's a fascinating movie. I think Ron Howard directed it so well. The shots where they're going through the caves and the water is just, it's hard to watch, but it's brilliantly done. Coming in 7th place is going to be Top Gun Maverick, the most surprising film of the year. I was sick of seeing this trailer because it was played throughout all of COVID. I really thought it was going to be just okay, because that's what I think the original Top Gun is, unfortunately. Sorry to fans of that. But this film went above and beyond. Like, the cockpit shots were just incredible. The fighter jet scenes were fantastic. Tom Cruise was great in this. The story itself was really interesting. The final act was just epic. Maybe the love story a little bit forced, but who cares? It was a great blockbuster. I'd say my second favourite blockbuster of the year. We'll get to the first. Number 6 is going to Boiling Point, which was a UK release in 2022. Sorry, Mr. Stephen Graham. What can I say about this movie? This was a whole one-take shot. I think they'd done it like 2 or 3 times and picked the best one. So fair play to the director and all the actors. Because this film here, by the end of it, oh my god, I was sweating. I was a complete ball of wreck at the end of this movie. I think this is my favourite cooking film now, because there's just so many incredible elements to it. Seeing what goes wrong in this restaurant and how it, you know, really, really breaks down a lot of people in the restaurant, from the waiters to the chefs, to the critics, to everyone involved in this movie. It's a fascinating film, and if you haven't seen it, I think it's on Netflix, so go watch it. Number 5 is going to RRR. This is my first Bollywood movie, and everyone's been raving about this, so I was like, I'll give it a watch. But this film has every genre possible in it. Action, action, romance. It's even got musical bits in it. Like, genuinely, it taps into everything. There's a thriller side to it. There's a lot of drama. There's even a couple, maybe little hints of horror in there. It's great. And it's so over the top, it's big and it's bold, and it looks great. I really had a fantastic time with this one. I need to rewatch it, actually. I've been meaning to do that. And I've heard that there's a sequel on the way. So, yeah. Give this film a chance, guys. It's very long, but it's well worth your time. Number 4 is going to Marshall, the Shell with Shoes On. Another stop-motion type movie. Which is from A24, and my god, I never thought I'd put a film about a show in my top 10. But yeah, this film's cute and adorable. It's got a wide range of emotions that come along with it, and yeah, by the end of it, you kind of are a bit of an emotional wreck because of a bloody shell that talks. It's very surprising, but it's a great little movie. If you can see it, I would highly recommend it. Number 3 is going to The Northman. Again, I'm a huge fan of this director. I really like The Witch and The Lighthouse. I thought they're both excellent, but I think this might be my favourite of his now. While the spiritual stuff goes a little bit over the top, I'll admit, one thing I loved about this movie was how it looked. I said Banshees of the Inisherin, or however you pronounce it. I pronounce it differently every time, hoping one of them I'm going to get it right. I said that had best cinematography, but now I'm sort of doubting myself because this film here also looked... Oh, it was absolutely jaw-dropping how beautiful it was. The story itself it's a man's revenge story. It's kind of simple. It's something we've seen a million times, but it is told so well through the actual cinematography. The actors doing such a good job, and it's just really intense, really intense. And I thought the pacing and the editing were on point. It didn't feel too long. It didn't feel too short. And by the end of it, I'd had such a blast with this movie. Coming in second place is going to be The Batman. This is potentially my favourite comic book movie ever. It's between that and Into the Spider-Verse. But this is my favourite Batman film. I can confirm that. I do prefer this to The Dark Knight. Don't shoot me. But what I love about this is Matt Reeves has made a very gritty Batman film that also feels just like a Batman comic, like the Long Halloween style Batman comic. I think that at no point was I bored. I really didn't get those complaints because I thought the story was just really interesting, seeing where we went with the Riddler, and then we got thrown into Falcone's sort of world, and then we come back to the Riddler. Meanwhile, you got Catwoman and the Penguin floating about. I think there's so many things I love about this movie. And all of the actors pulled it off completely. The script was great. The score was incredible. And yeah, I love this movie. I thought it was so good. I've watched it like 8 times this year, which I know, that's insane. But my number 1 movie of the year is Everything Everywhere All at Once from A24. This film just blew me away when I saw it in the cinema. It's weird that we got advertised Doctor Strange as the multiverse of madness, blah, 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 blah. And then this film comes out like a month later and it's like, here's some real multiverse stuff. You want to get emotional over 2 rocks wanting to just jump off a cliff? Here you go. You want to see a world where everyone's got sausage fingers? Here you go. I loved how this film had no line where it wasn't afraid to go over. There was a full-on butt plug fight, which was the strangest thing I've ever seen, but I loved it. And yeah, just everything about this movie for me was perfect. It is my type of movie in a nutshell. It's fun, it's wacky, and it doesn't really mind to push its boundaries to make the film as entertaining as possible. So yeah, there we go. Oh, I done that without a drink. Like, literally about 5 films into this, I realised I hadn't brought a drink up here with me. I could have stopped it and edited it in, but, you know. There we go. I have now ranked every single film I've seen throughout 2022. Now, guys, I'm still going to be watching movies from 2022, because there's a couple I haven't seen, Bones and all, you know. There's a few here I could list. So, if you want to keep up to date with this list, please go follow me on Letterboxd, because they're all on there. And if I decide to swap a couple around in a year or so, or on a rewatch, you'll be able to see that there as well. But anyway, whew, we're finally done with that video. Yes, I have also finished watching His Dark Materials Season 3, so my TV series ranking will be coming next because I'm done watching all the TV shows I need to for 2023 at the minute as well. 2022 even. Get me years mixed up. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching if you've watched this whole video because it's been a long one. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I'll see you all next time for another video. Bye-bye.